AI is moving at such fast pace. I don't want you to get left behind. So I've invited an amazing guest who's going to help us reframe why AI isn't actually cutting corners and how to use AI in a way that brings more ease to your life and to your business. And some of the things that she shared, you're literally going to hear them blow my mind, especially at the end. So don't cut out early. This episode is going to really help you see the impact that AI can make in the most integrous ways. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. I'm so excited to have Kelly Sinclair with us here today. We are talking all things AI, and I'm honored to have you because we just recorded on your show. There's very much an aligned message, and I wanted to share with you. I resisted AI hard. Like, I was even vocal on it in my groups, and I felt like I had this responsibility in leading so many people to let go of that belief and lean in. And it's proven to be so fruitful in my life. And I'm excited for you to kind of give us more of that today. And before we dive into the juicy part that I want to start on, I would love to know how did you become kind of this tech nerd AI person? Because you haven't always been that way, right? I feel like you self-identify as a uh tech nerd, right? Oh, accidental. Okay, I love it. I love it. So you weren't born techie, and I think that's important to know.
Well, 100%. I just keep saying, like, where I am right now was not on my bingo card at the beginning of 2025. It is. I actually just decided to embrace a year of only if it's a hell yes, which was very much a like permission to myself to follow wherever things felt good as my business was pivoting and shifting from being, at one point a PR and communications consultant, a brand strategist, a visibility coach, a marketing educator for entrepreneurs, a podcast host, all of the things. And then we have this huge wave of AI is now a tool. Like, what is life now? What is business now that we have access to something that honestly can be so supportive, but also very intimidating? And how do we figure out how to use this, right?
Yeah.
And then not to mention like my own like identity crisis around like stepping into this space and like it's so new. It's still so new that really anybody who's claiming to be an AI expert is under 2 years of experience in something that has shifted significantly in that time frame. So I just say that for context. And it's totally possible, right, to learn and adapt and figure out a way to bring this tool into your life. To, from my perspective, it's all about so that you can human better, not
I like
just so
that.
that you can create more content and put more stuff on the internet and like be in more places at one time, but like kind of the idea of human first AI adoption. And I like to think about it from that lens.
Yeah, that's so good. That brings me into like the second thing we're going to talk about. But I want to hit on something that out the gate, I hear from clients, I hear from people around AI, and they feel as though the use of AI is kind of like cheating the system, or they feel like it's not being honest. What's your shift? Like, what's the internal shift around that you feel like might be helpful if somebody's struggling with that thought?
Oh, for sure. I definitely relate to you, and the whole like resisted it at first was like, I can't really do as good of a job as I can do. And then we have our own little ego that kind of comes to play there. But also, what if we could just shift it into accepting that AI isn't cheating, it's choosing ease? When we already have the critical thinking skills, the expertise, the experience that we have as individuals, that doesn't go away when we lean on something to help pull things out of us, to help reflect, to help provide different perspectives, and to help speed up some of the things that we need to do. Especially a lot of us run our businesses alone, right? Solopreneurs, and we have to wear all the hats. Like, you can only do so much with one brain. The other
Yeah,
thing I really like
sure.
to think about from like the mindset perspective is what does this free you up to do better, right? And especially in the coaching and service providing space, I like to give an example of one of the things that I do a lot for my clients is creating visibility strategies. So this is like, where should you market yourself? What are some of the best opportunities that are going to fit you, your specific clients that you're trying to reach with your messaging that works to connect to them and in the places that actually align with your own energy and strengths, right? Like I'm not going to tell someone who's afraid of public speaking, you got to be a speaker now,
Yeah.
you know? And to build that plan, and I know this because that's just an evolution of basically a PR strategy that I would do when I worked in a communications consulting firm, and we billed every 15 minutes of our time. So I know exactly how long it would take me to do that. It would be about 20 hours. I can do the same process now in about 2.
So
And
good.
so then there's the mind junk that comes in that's like, well, now you're not, especially when we were literally tying our worth to time and our value to time, like that's a whole other thing to unpack and move past. But now I can give this early win to my clients, and that allows me to have a more deep, nuanced conversation. I have more capacity to access my human brain now that that piece has been taken care of with heavy leaning on AI, right? So it's just like a shift in what does this allow you to do better now because you're accessing a tool that exists.
I love that. I have a sticky note in front of me right now that I sit and look at every day. And from it's a statement of like guidance and it is show me how good it can get. And I
Mm.
actually think that this was a learning curve for me in the beginning because AI actually, once I figured it out and I found out how I like think of AI as like my thought partner. And I almost found myself like, what do I do with my time? And I was like, oh yeah, life. That's kind of important, more important than the business thing. So I'm just reaffirming that component of like the ease. And I mean, I want to get into some nitty gritty of, some things I have, but I do think like how good it can bit like it's not a get, it's not leaving. And so then our opportunity is to find how it can weave in seamlessly and be a match for us in whatever capacity that looks like.
Yes, and if I can also speak to some of the conditioning that we have as women to feel like things have to be hard, that we have to prove ourselves, that we have to work harder, that we have to do more, and what that manifests as, there is obviously so much to unpack and like release when we have something that can like create an email in under 5 seconds and
Yeah.
actually sound like you and actually feel like good enough to pretty much hit send on, like
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of accept that that's real right now.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's keep going off that because you said something that is an area that I wanted to focus on. I was on a call in our group program, and one of my clients was getting some coaching around messaging, and she said something to the nature of, "Yeah, but that's what ChatGPT said." And I had this like cringe kind of inside a little bit because the pendulum can also swing to the other side where there's so much reliance on it without filling it with the goodness and the knowledge of you, your client, your proprietary, intellectual beliefs, ideas, etc. And I'm always teaching my people gold in is gold out. And so it's
True.
our responsibility to put in the gold and train and teach, because the other thing I don't want my clients to do is become so reliant on what chat says and not look at it through the lens of, but is this how my client actually speaks? Is this what they say? So I'm curious, like, how do you feel about that? What do you say to that?
Yes, so I'm trying to think about how to phrase this because it's everything to make AI work effectively, it's all about context. Like everything that you give it is context. So it's almost like thinking about you have an assistant now, right? So like your summer student, your VA, whatever, but it's a robot. So you have to give it instructions. here's all the information you need in order to be able to think the way that I'm thinking. Here's exactly how, like, the hat I want you to wear when you're thinking about the job that you're asking it to do in terms of producing a communication, helping you write your website, helping you write an email, helping you, yeah, most of the stuff that I do is communication based.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, sure.
help me produce these things, whether it's social media content or podcast or whatever. So you are that layer of context, and it's so important to get it to understand you and your brand. And when you're talking about your brand, it's not just how you sound and the like little quirks and ways that you might, add some personality and flavor to the materials that you produce, but it's very much about who you are for, who is your audience, and a really deep understanding of what they're going through, where they're at, what they're struggling with, the types of problems that they're seeking solutions for. All of that ideal client context is so important. And I love that we now have a tool that pretty much can always wear the glasses that you give it, right? When you train it properly. So this is one of the things that I learned early on in my adventures with ChatGPT was that it needs it needs training. It needs what I call the brand calibrator. It needs to be calibrated to you so that anytime you ask it a question or you get it to do a task, it's thinking from that perspective and providing a response that's filtered already and not just coming from like a generic LLM or the internet.
Yeah, it's so good. I like that word, those words you use, brand calibrator. I think that that is the key piece is to understand just, going in with no context is going to produce something that doesn't feel aligned. And then that's going to frustrate you and it's going to feel like a waste of time or that or here's the classic thing. I'm just going to do it myself because I'm faster. I'm like, there is like most great things in life, like when you put in and front load the energy to build it, the back end reward is wonderful. Like it took so much energy in the beginning when I first got married to calibrate my life with my husband. And now we reap those benefits, right? How much time and energy we put in our children when they're little. And then as we get older, we start to like reap some of those rewards. And I feel like AI is similar. And so to have an understanding of that, like relieve some of that pressure or frustration.
And I think another thing that you said is, about the fear of relying on AI too much. I think there's a few opportunities to shift what that looks like because as you said that, I was like, does that mean how many hours a day I'm using it? Because for me, it's a lot. Like I've almost shifted my entire thinking in terms of I think about how I can use AI to do something instead of how to do something, right?
Mm.
So I'm always reflecting. And for me, it's partly because I really love the feedback that comes from that. I sit alone in my basement doing my business all day long. So it's really nice to have like someone to talk to, not because I needed a friend, but like something that when you ask it to critically, give you critical feedback about something or look for gaps that you can't see from your own perspective. You've got an additional extension of your brain, but not one that's just like only thinks like you, but can think in a different way as well.
Yeah. I was in a group and they brought up this language called an AI thought silo or an AI silo. Have you heard that before?
Not that specifically. What does that mean?
Yeah, it means like you have created a silo for yourself around your thinking, and you create the relationship with your AI help that just enables your thinking specifically. And I love something that you just said is AI is also there to challenge. And so a great gift of prompting that I've realized along the way is to actually say, hey, challenge me on this. Is my thinking, am I in alignment like with my goals? Do you see any gaps here? Am I missing something? Because that is where the critical thinking piece comes. And then we get this more robust feedback that allows us to maybe miss the gap or to see the gaps that we were missing. And so that visual was great. And I love saying, like, ask me questions in this, in whatever I'm working on, because it forces you to critically think around the outcomes that you want and be in alignment.
Yes, 100% that is true. I think ChatGPT specifically got a little bit of a bad rep for being a bit of a cheerleader. Although I totally love that personality. I love it when now we're thinking strategically, but then you go, oh, wait, am I though? Like, do you just want to say that to me? So you have to ask it to challenge you. You do have to ask it to ask questions. You do have to tell it to identify the gaps. One use case I'll share. I recently was doing a presentation for a group, and then I had to take that like 1 hour presentation and turn it into a 15-minute one. So first thing I did was I got the transcript from a practice run that I did, and then I asked ChatGPT to identify any opportunities to tighten things up, to provide more clarity, to see any like confusion points, any inaccuracies based on information it already has for me in the way that I teach concepts. And then from there, I asked it to now shorten this into a 15-minute version that highlights all the same key points, and it can pull that outline out so that I could go record the next version of it too.
So good. I love that so much. Again, like with ease, right? With ease. And that is the really cool piece. It's funny that you say that, because I want to look at this kind of ecosystem concept. And so I've fallen in love with Cloud, however you say it. And I felt like once I did this experiment with Gemini, Claude, and Chat at the same time, fed it the same thing for about 3 weeks. And I was like, boom, 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 boom. And at the end, I just felt that that nailed my language. But when I build custom GPTs, because most of my clients use Chat, I build over there. But I use them to talk to each other and pull, because I feel like my language was really nailed here. But this notion of building custom GPTs that are in alignment with your brand to add more ease has been such an amazing added value inside of my business specifically. So we built Faith, the framework building ninja, as an assistant inside of my program, the Framework Builder Lab. We just rolled it out within the last month, but it's so cool to hear the feedback. Like, I feel like it's literally you, Amanda, like when the feedback comes. And so I'm curious, just with the work that you're doing, can you speak more to I don't know what your language is. Am I saying it right? Custom GPTs? Or I think that's really this notion of ecosystems and how they support each other. Like, tell us where it's going or where you see the value to get more support in that area.
Okay.
And that was a lot. So you could break it down into pieces.
Yeah. So we'll start with what is a custom GPT?
Yes.
And so within the platform ChatGPT, a custom GPT, I like to call a bot, is a tool that has a really specific task that you want it to do. Like best practices are that it would do one thing. So I have Eleanor, the email expert. I have Mallory, the market research assistant. I have Olivia, the onboarding assistant. They have one job. So they know how to stay in their lane. They know what their expertise is. You feed them the knowledge that comes from either kind of best practices that you've created, industry standards, those kinds of things. And if you need it to speak in your language, and if it's something that's producing something for you or representing you, like you just said, the one that's kind of like you in your program, that needs your brand calibrator, right? It needs to have your
Yeah.
voice attached to it. And that's a really important aspect. The frustration that I found as I started building those out and being like, oh, this is cool. I wish this one could talk to this one. I wish
Yes.
I wish that it would have a memory of the things I've already said to it. Like I had this kind of wish list that was happening, and that has led down a whole rabbit hole. Back to the whole, this wasn't on my bingo card in 2025. I started meeting with a programmer who's an AI specialist in the town where I live, and we were going out for coffee like once a week, and I was like, I wish it would do this. I wish it would do that. I wish it would do this. He's like, let's do it then. And
So
so
cool.
that has led to building a whole new AI platform that addresses some of these challenges, and particularly for people in coaching and any expertise based industry. One of the biggest issues is like the protection of your IP, right? You're
Yeah.
feeding it your frameworks, you're feeding it all of your years of knowledge and experience, and you want to make sure that that's safe. It's not going to be used to train further models on what you know and what you've built as yours, and that you can monetize it in a way that you deserve to be able to do. Right. So
Yeah.
that's where we are going. And the idea of ecosystems is building out these tools that can integrate together, that can work and support you, your I kind of look at like three different opportunities for monetization. And those are like the internal systems. So how can we make the things that we do internally take less time? So that's all your content creation, admin stuff, replying to emails, like 1,000 examples that we could come up with there. Then the second one is client like delivery. So if you're a service provider, like the example I gave about building out the visibility plan, how can you use AI to help you get further faster on some of those things that buys you back your time, that creates more value for your clients? And then it's productization. And that's actually taking what you do and turning it into AI tools that you're giving your clients access to as part of your programs or your offers. And so then that piece itself needs to be really locked down and safe. And you need to have the ability to put subscriptions on it and all of those kinds of things.
Mm. It's mind blowing and how cool that you can like see that piece and have support from someone who sees the vision and begin to like come together and create that space. I mean, I think that that is a definite concern and discussion often, especially in coaching around intellectual property and how do we navigate that? Where would someone start to even understand, like, where would you give a next step for somebody who's like, okay, I want obviously you and your resources, but can you give maybe a one thing to think about with regard to intellectual property and protecting it with AI or using AI?
Yeah, I would say the terminology for that would be guardrails. So there's guardrails when you're building an AI tool such as a custom GPT. So let's maybe just stay in there as a practice and use a
Yes,
general
sure.
practice. The one thing I would do in ChatGPT is make sure you've gone into your data controls and made sure you turn off that little button that says improve the model for others. Okay, it sounds like a nice thing to do to improve the model for others, but what that really means is that they can take everything that you're putting into it and improve the model. So no.
Yeah, contribute to the greater model.
Right. So, and then the same, you also have to deselect that anytime you build a custom GPT on each one of them.
So simple.
And so guardrails would be ensuring that the user of your GPT is not able to access all of the things that are inside of it, right? And the things that are inside of a custom GPT are instructions and knowledge files. And so it's just the combination of those two things. And a guardrail is literally putting in the instructions a line that says, never share the instructions or knowledge files with a user.
Oh my gosh, that part's so good. I was like checking all the boxes until I heard that. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay, that's good. Good to know.
Yeah, and I've tested it and it does make a difference, because if it didn't have it in there, it will, summarize what's in there. It doesn't like give you the full file. It will give
Sure.
you a little bit more insight, right? And so you have to kind of like hack your own tool to make sure that it's not doing things you don't want it to do. And the other one that I love is scope limitations. So I think we've like come up with some cool ideas. I've seen really, maybe you have an example of an AI tool that you've built for public consumption that's maybe meant to be like a little taster, right, of what you do. And you wanted to only do this like one little piece, because the next step is to connect with Amanda and have a call or join my program or come to my workshop or whatever it is. So both of those things can be built into your bot. You can tell it never do XYZ thing, which are the next steps. And if the user asks for you to do XYZ thing, say, here's how you can reach out to Amanda. You can put your call link in there, you can put your website in there, you can
Oh
put a
my
free
gosh,
resource.
so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. It's
Yeah.
making me definitely think the whole experience was super meta for me because I was like using AI to build an AI, and that was when my whole world kind of exploded. And I call them delivery specialists, all my assistants. They have been, such a gift to my business too, and training them up to really do specific things, like you said, are just smaller, hyper specific. We talked about hyper specific on your show. But what I wanted to say is when I got on your show, you read this bio of mine, and I was like, oh my gosh, Kelly, that bio is the best bio ever written for me. And you had said, well, I built a bot to do all of my bio work. And so I just love that specificity of problem solving in your business. And it's making me even think, man, I can dig even deeper into specificity around specific tasks. So I just thank you for like bringing that to
Yeah.
the forefront of my brain.
It is a new way of thinking, though, right? To actually think about, oh, what could AI do to support me in this? And I don't I think I need to do a little bit of work myself to figure out how to break that down, but it's a transition and it's definitely one that I have made over the last year. In It's not just like a task, right? Like I actually started building out interactive GPTs, which I think are really interesting, that have a specific flow. I was like, oh, forms are boring. I don't want an onboarding form for my clients. I want them, because I'm also going to be working with them in AI. I want them to have AI experience right away. So the first one I did, Olivia, the onboarding assistant, she basically took my onboarding form for my program and made it an interactive conversation. And that is so helpful for the client, because now if they're like, I don't know, it can prompt, it can give suggestions and ideas and get you out of the
This is
stuck
blowing my
flow.
mind. Yes, this is so cool. Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's
then
so
I just
good.
think like there's limitless opportunities, and that can feel very intimidating, because it's like, well, the answer is you can do anything. Like even when you just go to the Chat GPT interface, it's like, what are we gonna do today? And then you can get stuck with, I don't know, what should I do? How do I even start? Right? Where do we go first? And it's just what I would encourage everybody at any level, wherever you're at. If you haven't ever made an account, if you have been building bots and you're ready to optimize, like whatever you are on that spectrum, all of this comes from like learn to do by doing. Just get in there, get your hands dirty, practice. I had an AI consultation with a client the other day, and she was just kind of blown away by, oh, I didn't think you could ask it that, or I didn't know you could, try this or that. And the answer is you can do everything. So ask it to do whatever you want, and then tweak and tweak and tweak, and then you'll start to notice your own patterns as well, that'll help shape the output that you get.
So good. I met this woman, or I heard her speak rather, and she said the first 15 minutes of her day now are having a conversation with her AI tool, whichever she used, around where she should spending her time. And so essentially, she uploaded her current business goals and then was obviously sharing KPIs consistently, and that has begun to formulate how like the actions she's taking in her day, or at least on a weekly basis. And I was like, that inspired me because that's definitely an area where my clients struggle, especially in the beginning, of how do we spend time. So this conversation is helping me even envision being able to curate that, for my clients too. And you said something on your social too. I have all these Kelly isms that I really wanted to pull in, but around this notion of AI isn't a replacement. It's actually like how your client, when using it, your clients succeed faster with you. I don't know if you even know you said that, but I pulled that in because it was like, yes. And that is the name of the game in my world is time is the scarcest resource. So how can I leverage these tools to make the client experience richer, but to help them curate results faster? And so even this idea of like bots along the process are really great. Like it's even thinking like my modules should shift. Everything right now, you just blew up my mind. So thank you.
I love, I can't stop doing this motion with my hand. Amanda, the the whole concept of yes, AI is not a replacement for you, but it's a tool to help you. I think the we're starting a brand new AI platform and company, and the one of the taglines I'm playing with is like AI to help humans human better, right?
Yes.
Allow you to do the things that only you can do with the layered nuance and experience and what your journey has taken you. So absolutely. And I do know that I say that a lot because ChatGPT pulls it out as a key quote
Oh,
all the
it's you.
time.
That's funny. Well, and I tell my coaches all the time at the end of the day, people are paying you for proximity, right? Get closer to you, speed of results, and accountability. And we can still have the best AI companion, but there is a level of accountability that no like, humanness will always be there. And our AI can shake our finger and say, you should do this, and here's the timeline. But execution is going to be where humanness and just this empathy that exists from one human to another. And so I think that it's important to understand that it's not a threat, it's an expander, like it's a companion, right? A partner in the process. So thanks for just
And there's
slide.
something else that you said there too, with respect to an opportunity to help with implementation. I think for me, this is where my biggest like mind-blowing moment was when I started integrating this. I realized that all of this time that I have been, trying to put myself out there as a brand strategist or a marketing coach or a visibility, whatever like rebrand I've had to do to try and make that a thing. Like I can sit here and make a strategy all day. It is pretty useless if you don't do it,
Yeah,
right?
hands
The
down.
implementation is like the key. And now I'm like, wow, I can take the strategy and layer the implementation in and provide all of that. I can create tools that help my clients implement these things. So if I say, if we agree that one of the best ways for you to get more clients to be visible is to be on podcasts and speaking opportunities, then we should be building you tools for helping you pitch, helping you research opportunities, like where can you create connections with people, tools to help you follow up and keep track of all the things that you're doing outreach to. Like that's where it all comes together. And for me, what really got me excited about, venturing into this space in the first place.
So good. It's so true. Implementation is always going to be our opportunity as coaches, service providers, etc. So, oh my gosh, this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your genius. I would love for you to share, like, first off, where can we connect? I've been mentioning your social platform. So, and then maybe a resource or a next best step if they want to come into your world with more AI excitement.
Yeah, so I did a crazy thing when I decided that I am now a self-proclaimed accidental tech nerd and have like totally re-shifted my whole focus. I stripped my website down to one page. And so on that one page website, ksco.ca, there are links to the most relevant, up-to-date resources with respect to AI. I've done free bundles in the past. I've done workshops. I'm building out new materials because this is a space that moves really fast. And so I think I don't have an evergreen funnel with some AI resource in it. Like that's
Yeah,
just sort of
totally.
like, bang, that makes sense right now. So please go over there and check out, and I'll make sure Amanda has a direct link to something that's
Yes.
timely at the time of this episode going out. And then also come hang out with me on Instagram where I will respond to your messages, but probably not post a lot.
Perfect. That's my kind of girl. I love it. And we'll drop the links to both. And did you say your handle on Instagram?
It's ksco_Kelly.
Perfect. And I'll put both those in the links. And again, just thank you so much for sharing your genius. So many like powerful nuggets. Obviously, you have me rethinking things in such a short time frame. So I am super grateful.